The spotlight was on Michael Jackson. But he left the light and ran into the darkness. Security was confused. The audience was frozen. Because at the edge of the stage, a young girl lay on the ground. The music stopped. 80,000 people held their breath. The king of pop, mid-performance, mid-song, dropped to his knees at the stage edge. His white glove reached out. Not for applause. Not for the crowd. For her. What happened in those next 60 seconds would become one of the most powerful moments in concert history. A moment that revealed who Michael Jackson truly was when the cameras weren't supposed to be watching. When the script was torn apart. When humanity overpowered the show. This is that story. Wembley Stadium, London. July 16, 1988. The Bad World Tour was at its peak. Michael Jackson was performing to sold-out arenas across the globe, breaking records, rewriting what a concert could be. The stage production was massive, pyrotechnics, dancers, costume changes timed to the second. Every moment choreographed. Every light cue programmed. Every second controlled. But you can't control everything. In the front rows, pressed against the barrier, stood a 16-year-old girl named Emma. She'd camped outside the ticket office for 2 days to get that spot. Front row. Center stage. The dream of every Michael Jackson fan. She wore a homemade jacket covered in sequins, trying to mirror his iconic style. Her friends surrounded her, all of them screaming, crying, overwhelmed by the proximity to their idol. Emma had a secret though. She hadn't told anyone. Not her friends. Not her parents. She had a heart condition. Minor, the doctors said. Nothing that would stop her from living a normal life. But they'd warned her, avoid extreme stress, stay hydrated, don't put yourself in situations where your heart rate spikes uncontrollably. She'd ignored all of it. Because this was Michael Jackson. This was once in a lifetime. The show began with an explosion of light and sound. Michael appeared through a trap door in the stage, and the stadium erupted. Emma screamed until her throat burned. She jumped, she cried, she reached toward him every time he came near her section. For 90 minutes, her heart pounded like a drum. She forgot to drink water. She forgot to breathe normally. She forgot everything except the man on that stage. Then, during human nature, something shifted. The world started spinning. Emma's vision blurred. She tried to hold onto the barrier, but her fingers wouldn't grip. Her friends didn't notice at first. They were lost in the music, eyes fixed on Michael. She collapsed forward, her body going limp against the metal barrier. The security guard stationed at that section saw her fall. He radioed immediately. Medical, front section 3, we have a girl down. But someone else saw it too. Michael Jackson was mid-verse when his eyes caught the commotion. A body slumping. Friends panicking. Security moving in. He was 40 feet away, center stage, surrounded by dancers. The show was supposed to continue. The music was playing. The cues were rolling. But Michael Jackson stopped singing. He held up his hand to the band. The music cut. 80,000 people fell silent. Michael didn't hesitate. He walked quickly, then ran toward the edge of the stage. His security team moved to intercept him, confused, trying to figure out what was happening. But Michael pushed past them. He dropped to his knees at the stage edge, looking down at Emma's pale face as medics arrived. Is she breathing? Michael asked, his voice cutting through the silence, amplified by his headset microphone. The entire stadium heard him. The medic nodded. Yes, sir, she's responsive, just fainted. Michael looked at Emma's face. Her eyes were fluttering open, disoriented, terrified. She saw him. Her idol. Kneeling above her. Looking directly at her with concern in his eyes. You're okay, Michael said softly, his voice gentle, meant only for her but broadcast to everyone. You're safe. Just breathe, okay? Breathe with me. He took a slow breath in. Then out. Emma, still dazed, mirrored him. The medics were lifting her onto a stretcher, but Michael didn't move. He stayed there, crouched at the stage edge, his hand extended toward her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Emma," Michael repeated, smiling. "You're going to be just fine. I promise." Then he did something no one expected. He removed his white glove. The iconic glove. The one worth thousands. The symbol of his entire image. And he placed it gently in her hand. "Keep this," he said. "So you remember tonight. Not the scary part. The part where you were brave." Emma's fingers closed around the glove. Tears streamed down her face. Not from pain. From something else entirely. The medics carried her out through a side exit, and Michael stood at the stage edge, watching until she disappeared. The entire stadium watched in silence. 80,000 people, and you could hear a pin drop. But here's where the story becomes even more unbelievable. The part that no one expected. The part that would define that night forever. Michael Jackson turned back to the microphone. He wiped his eyes. The emotion was real. Raw. Unfiltered. He wasn't performing anymore. He was present. "I'm sorry," he said to the crowd, his voice shaking slightly. I needed to make sure she was okay." The crowd erupted. Not with screams. With applause. Deep, resonant, emotional applause. The kind that says, "We see you. We understand. Thank you for being human." Michael took a breath, steadying himself. Then he spoke again. "You know, people come to these shows, and they give me so much love. So much energy. And sometimes I forget that you're real people with real lives. Real hearts that can break. Real bodies that can hurt. Emma reminded me tonight. She reminded me that all of this, it's not just a show. It's a connection. It's love." He paused, looking out over the sea of faces. "So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you need help, if you need water, if you need air, please raise your hand. Let someone know. Because I'd rather stop this concert 100 times than have anyone get hurt." The applause grew louder. Some people were crying. Others were hugging strangers next to them. The atmosphere had shifted entirely. This wasn't just a concert anymore. It was something sacred. Michael picked up the microphone stand and said, "I want to dedicate the rest of tonight to Emma. And to everyone who's ever felt like they were falling. Who needed someone to catch them." The band started playing Man in the Mirror. But this time, it sounded different. Michael sang it differently. There was a weight to every word. A meaning that transcended the lyrics. The entire stadium sang with him. 80,000 voices united. And somewhere backstage, Emma was listening, clutching that white glove like a lifeline. Behind the scenes, Michael's team was in chaos. His manager was furious. "You stopped the show. You stopped the entire production. Do you know what that does to the schedule? The broadcast?" Michael looked at him calmly. "I stopped the show because a girl was hurt. And I'd do it again." His manager started to argue, but Michael's assistant, a woman named Karen who'd worked with him for years, stepped in. "He's right," she said quietly. "And you know it." The argument ended. Because deep down, everyone in that room knew Michael had done exactly what he should have done. What the audience didn't see was what happened in Michael's dressing room after the show. He sat alone for nearly an hour, still wearing his stage costume, the sweat-soaked jacket heavy on his shoulders. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't reviewing the performance. He was thinking about Emma. About all the Emmas. About every person in every crowd who'd ever needed help and been too afraid to ask for it. His makeup artist found him there, staring at his reflection in the mirror. "You okay, Michael?" she asked softly. He nodded slowly. "I keep thinking, what if I hadn't seen her? What if I'd been too focused on the choreography, the lights, the next cue? What if she'd been seriously hurt because I was too caught up in being Michael Jackson the performer to notice Michael Jackson the human being?" "But you did see her," the makeup artist said. "That's what matters." Michael shook his head. "It's not enough. From now on, every show, I want medical staff doubled in the front sections. I want water stations every 50 feet. I want signs that say it's okay to ask for help. I need to know that people are safe. That they matter more than the show. That conversation became a mandate. Within weeks, Michael's tour management had implemented every single one of those changes. Other artists' teams noticed. They asked questions. They adopted similar protocols. A single moment of compassion had triggered an industry-wide transformation in concert safety standards. After the concert ended, Michael asked to see Emma. She was in the medical tent, stable. Her parents had been notified and were on their way. When Michael walked in, she burst into tears again. "I'm so sorry," Emma said, her voice trembling. "I ruined your show." Michael sat down next to her, shaking his head. "You didn't ruin anything. You made it real." He pulled up a chair and sat with her for nearly 30 minutes. They talked about everything: music, dreams, her favorite songs. Emma told him she wanted to be a nurse someday, to help people the way he'd helped her. Michael smiled at that, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "You're going to be amazing at that," he said. "Because you already know what it feels like to need someone. That's the most important thing. Empathy. Understanding. You have that." Emma's parents arrived, frantic and grateful. Her mother hugged Michael, crying, thanking him over and over. Her father shook his hand, unable to find words big enough for what he was feeling. Michael stayed calm, reassuring them that Emma was strong, that she'd be fine, that they'd raised an incredible daughter. He stayed with her for 20 minutes. They talked about music, about life, about her dreams. He signed the jacket she'd made. He took a photo with her, his arm around her shoulders, both of them smiling. Before he left, he handed her something else, a handwritten note on hotel stationery. It read, "Emma, never apologize for being human. Never apologize for needing help. You reminded me tonight why I do this. Thank you. With love, Michael." Emma kept that note. And the glove. And the photo. She framed them all. And for the rest of her life, whenever she felt small, whenever she felt invisible, she looked at them and remembered, Michael Jackson saw her. Not as a fan. As a person. The story didn't end there. Because what Michael did that night rippled outward in ways no one could have predicted. In the weeks that followed, concert venues across the world began implementing new safety protocols. Medical teams were stationed closer to front rows. Water stations became mandatory. Signs were posted encouraging fans to ask for help if they felt unwell. Michael's actions had set a new standard. Other artists started following his lead. When fans fainted at their shows, they stopped. They checked in. They made it clear that the audience's well-being mattered more than the performance. A culture shift had begun. Emma herself became an advocate for heart health awareness among young people. She started speaking at schools, sharing her story, encouraging others with medical conditions not to hide them out of fear or shame. "Michael Jackson taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness," she would say. "It's strength." Years later, after Michael's death in 2009, Emma was interviewed by a documentary crew making a film about his humanitarian side. She held up the white glove, now carefully preserved in a display case, and said, "People remember Michael for his music, his dancing, his artistry. I remember him for this. For the moment he chose a person over a performance. That's the Michael Jackson I want the world to know." The footage went viral. Millions of people watched it. Many of them hadn't known this story. They'd heard rumors, seen headlines, but never understood the depth of Michael's compassion. The comment sections filled with similar stories. "He visited my sick brother in the hospital. He donated to my mother's medical bills. He stopped his motorcade to help a homeless man." A pattern emerged. Michael Jackson, for all his fame, for all his larger-than-life persona, had spent his entire career doing exactly what he'd done that night at Wembley, seeing people. Really seeing them. The white glove Emma held wasn't just a piece of fabric. It was a symbol. A reminder that in a world obsessed with spectacle, with performance, with maintaining an image, Michael Jackson had chosen authenticity. He had chosen humanity. That night at Wembley changed something fundamental. Not just for Emma. Not just for the 80,000 people in that stadium. But for everyone who heard the story afterward. Because it answered a question that many had wondered but never asked out loud. Who was Michael Jackson when no one was watching? When the stage lights went dark? When the applause faded? He was exactly who he appeared to be in that moment. Someone who cared. Someone who stopped. Someone who reached out when someone was falling. That's the legacy. Not just the music. Not just the moonwalk. But this, the moment the show stopped, and the man showed up. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to keep these untold stories alive. Comment below with your own memories of moments when someone stopped to see you. Because in a world that keeps spinning, sometimes we all need someone to notice when we're falling. And sometimes, we need to be that someone for others. Michael Jackson taught us that night, the show can wait. Humanity can't.